Indiana Jones' latest world-traveling adventure might make for box office gold. But for UAlbany students, the excitement of archaeological field study can be found right in the Capital Region's backyard. At the Pethick Archeological Site in Schoharie, students get the chance to study history through the excavation of thousands of Native American artifacts, some dating back to prehistoric times. For UAlbany Assistant Professor and Site Director Sean Rafferty, the first step is clearing up any misconceptions set in place by the iconic Dr. Jones.
I mean, Indiana Jones, for one thing, is kind of an adventurer and even kind of a looter by professional standards, but the movies are exciting. They've got archaeology in it, and that gets a lot of people interested in archaeology. You start seeing a lot of other TV shows coming up on the various educational channels at the same time, and that creates a buzz, and the buzz gets people interested, and some of those people come and want to do the real thing, which is what we've got going here.
Grad student Steve Moragne, now on the path to a doctorate, is a prime example.
I was applying to universities for undergrad, and they're all the entrance essays, and one of them was, what is your prospective major and why? So I had no idea what kind of field I wanted to end up in, so I wrote archaeology because I had just watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I wrote this essay about how I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I wanted to travel around the world chasing Nazis and recovering lost treasures.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
They still accepted me, by the way. But when I finally got to school, I found out, I didn't know what to take. So I took some archaeology courses, and I found it is obviously totally different, but it was still interesting. And it just stuck.
At the Pethick site, Rafferty and Moragne work with students pulling back the layers of an ancient Mohawk settlement, simply through the study of soil.
By looking at those just changes in soil color from one point to another, we can tell where people did their cooking, where they made their stone tools, where they made pottery, where the posts went into the ground, so we can actually see the floor plan of all their houses. We know we had at least 2 structures here, probably more, something along the lines of an Iroquoian longhouse.
For undergrad student Kim Dryden of Syracuse, unearthing evidence of an old Mohawk longhouse has been an exhilarating way to spend a summer.
The reason we have this here is because in previous years there was a unit directly adjacent and there was post molds found, round things about this big, probably part of a longhouse, and that's sort of what we're hoping.
And there are a lot of things about this area that make it really attractive. The Schoharie River would be the primary means of transportation. You have a natural source of raw material. The stone that most of our stone tools are made out of is from this hill.
As it turns out, even 1,000 years ago, it's all about location, location, location. Uncovering the tools of a bygone era is just one part of the adventure. Day 2 sends the students to the labs of the New York State Museum, where Field School co-director and state archaeologist Chris Reith guides the students through an equally important aspect of the program, interpreting the findings through scientific analysis.
For every hour that archaeologists spend in the field excavating a site, they easily spend 2 hours in the lab processing artifacts. Over here we have Kathleen and Kaylin processing a number of artifacts from one of the units. Here they have a projectile point that was recovered. It would have been an arrow. It probably it was used to hunt white-tailed deer or some other type of large mammal at the site. We're going through the trays to analyze and determine what different types of artifacts we have at the site. They will rebag them and regroup them into various categories such as stone tools or pottery.
Still, for students, nothing beats getting your hands dirty.
Coming to UAlbany as an art history major, having other experiences open up to me like archaeology, I have been able to pretty much travel the world. I went to Europe last summer, 2 cities in Germany, 1 city in Italy to experience art history, a couple of worldwide tours, international things where we met artists and curators from all over the world. And then this year I got to come out and dig in the middle of a field for the summer and get all dirty and sweaty. doing this archaeology field school, which has been great, and hopefully next year I can go on to another field school somewhere else.
All the field work we take and put it into the computers, so having the ability to use the GIS programs would really be a benefit to me because I could be in the labs doing mapping as well. I love coming out here and getting my hands dirty.
Ultimately, the field school provides the framework for students, not only to understand archaeology, but to become fully engaged in the archaeological process.
I like to say archaeology happens anywhere people have ever lived, anytime. People have been living in New York for over 10,000 years, and they've left their remains, their footprints, wherever they have gone, and that is as interesting, and you can learn as much about the human past from a site like the Pethick site, which looks a lot like, an agricultural field, no pyramids or anything like that, as you can by working in some of those more elaborate settings.
Talk about Indiana Jones. Everyone always wants to hear about what's going on in these great temples in Mexico or in Italy or in Egypt, but there's archaeology everywhere. Archaeologists have to look at just the facts, just these material traces of human behavior, and then try to reconstruct all of these more important questions like why, how, and look at the whole history of humanity. A whole 200,000 years of modern Homo sapiens, and try to understand step by step how we got to where we are now.
After completing the field school, students have obtained the skill set to apply for federal and state jobs, or to pursue a myriad of other opportunities.
So here we're getting the basic skills, and when we are completed, it's an 8-week course altogether. We get a certificate, and it's sort of like you can take a course to be an EMT like these guys are, and you are thereby certified to dig from there on out. And you can dig in any country pretty much in the world.
It also prepares them for various types of careers in cultural resource management. For instance, if a state Department of Transportation is constructing a bridge, in order to comply with state and federal laws, archaeological surveys are completed. And that's a very common way that undergraduates will receive careers and land a career in archaeology.
Archaeology is also a gateway into a variety of sciences. We use geometry to lay out our test units. We use physics in some cases to do subsurface testing with ground-penetrating radar. We're kind of a gateway into sciences in general.
The Pethick site is just one of the archaeological field schools offered by the University at Albany. Other programs include sites in Belize, Cyprus, and Serbia, where more adventure awaits inquisitive UAlbany students.